Exclusive contract novel from Feilu Novel Network. Rebirth of Hong Kong Island Tycoon. I had become Yang Mi's godfather. In 1992, Zhou Xingchi went north to film Zhuangyuan Su Qi'er, where 5-year-old Yang Mi played Su Qi'er's daughter. Zhang Min honey, be good, call Mom.Qiu Shuzhen. Honey, be good, I am your mother. Guan Zhilin. Honey, buy whatever you want, I'm your mother. Li Jiagui. Don't listen to them, I am.Kong Yangguang. Be good, call Dad. The story must start from 1978. Feilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Chapter 0001. Rebirth of Hong Kong Island Rich Second Generation, Opening Explanation. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chapter 0001 Rebirth of Hong Kong Island Rich Second Generation, Unlocking 100/ at the beginning. February 2, 1978. Kong Yangguang slowly opened his eyes. Damn it, I feel a lot of pain in my head. Where am I? Kong Yangguang shook his head fiercely, only to realize that he was in a luxurious villa. Am I reborn? Kong Yangguang realized that he seemed to have been reborn, and there seemed to be many other memories in his mind. In my past life, I was from an ordinary family and my academic performance was quite good. I was always in a key school, and later, with extremely beneficial results, I was admitted to a key university. The later life cannot be considered as cheating, it can also be considered as smooth sailing. Until the time of getting married, the girlfriend's family demanded a dowry of 2 million yuan. 2 million, why don't you sell it? I estimate the return on investment will be quite fast. Kong Yangguang originally wanted to maintain his relationship, but he didn't expect them to sit on the ground and raise the price. So, Kong Yangguang went straight to your mother's place, and the master won't serve him anymore. Do you really think you're inlaid with diamonds? Since we can't reach an agreement, let's just postpone it. Then, Kong Yangguang quickly realized that with his own conditions, he was so satisfied that he could fly. Without the shackles of marriage and pressure, my business is actually getting better and better. I have my own small villa in Modu. When his ex-girlfriend tried to reconcile, Kong Yangguang didn't even know how many beautiful women there were around him. Before crossing over, Kong Yangguang still remembered doing something enjoyable with a young celebrity from the 3rd or 4th tier, and then shit. Kong Yangguang couldn't help but curse. Shouldn't it be abdominal death? If I die like this, I would really lose face. My name is Kong Yangguang. This is Xiangjiang from 1978. This is another life experience in my mind. Father Kong Yang is from Xiangjiang and the chairman of Sunshine Group, including investment companies, real estate, factories, etc., with a net worth of over 1 billion. Shit. When Kong Yangguang saw this setting, he was slightly stunned. In my past life, even if I struggled hard, I didn't have that much money. It was barely worth 4 or 5 billion yuan. At the beginning, I had already surpassed my previous life struggle for most of my life. And don't forget, it's now 1978. In 1978, Li Jiaqing's worth of over 1 billion yuan was actually just that. The king of this era is the charter ship king. If our family operates well, we can at least compare ourselves to the level of the 4 major families in the future. After organizing his thoughts, Kong Yangguang quickly accepted this setting. Rebirth cannot be considered a top-tier second-generation wealthy individual, at least it can be considered a relatively top-tier one. Looking around, this is a luxurious sleeping room decorated in a European style. This should be a villa in Repulse Bay. The past life may be unattainable, but now, the beginning of one's life is the end of the past life. Kong Yangguang felt an unreal sensation. Before his travels, he had worked hard to make money, but now it seems that he doesn't need to work hard and can easily enjoy wealth that he couldn't have enjoyed in his previous life. In my past life, when I was wealthy, I was almost 40 years old, and my physical and mental abilities were no longer at their peak. But now Kong Yangguang, however, felt that his physical and mental abilities were simply endless, and he was crazily surging outwards. Is the life of a wealthy person? It's simply something you can do as you please. Having read countless online novels, Kong Yangguang is not unfamiliar with the scene of time travel. He accepts time travel very quickly. Although he had money in his past life, he was not as wealthy as he is now, right? Moreover, their parents in their previous lives had already passed away when they were successful in their careers, and as for this time and space, they are probably still unmarried. Opening the air conditioning quilt, Kong Dai stood in front of the mirror, but could not help showing a shocked expression on his face. The recumbent slot is really his mother handsome. At a height of 1.8 meters, with tightly packed yet sturdy muscles, and upright facial features, especially facial lines, it is as clear as sculpture. How to say that? It's the kind of tough guy feeling. At this moment, Kong Yangguang's memories kept melting in. The original owner of this body usually exercises in addition to going to school, with strong physical fitness and strong learning ability. The intensity of the body is not usually high. Worry. Soon, Kong Yangguang discovered that the original owner of this body was exercising because there were too many girls around him, and if his physical fitness couldn't keep up, he wouldn't be able to persist. Moreover, this dog Day is even more colorful than what I have played in my past life. He is 18 years old and 16 years old this year. As for his personal experience, I'm sorry, he has now unlocked the achievement of 100 slashes. Shit, what is this? As soon as I crossed over, I stood directly at the end of my past life, and it was the kind that I couldn't possibly catch up with no matter how hard I tried in my past life. February 1978. The second oil crisis has not yet fully erupted, and Li Jiaqing has not yet begun to acquire Hutchison Trading Company. Opportunities. Kong Yangguang felt that as a reborn person, he must not be inferior to the original owner of his body. He had only completed the task of killing 100 people, so he had to unlock the 1,000 people slaying in 10,000 people slaying. Chapter 0002. The Leisure Life of the Rich Second Generation. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Who? Kong Yangguang stretched his muscles and bones for a while, then went to the nearby gym to start exercising. Both in his past life and as the original owner of his body, Kong Yangguang has a good habit of maintaining exercise. There is also a separate gym at home. Kong Yangguang is not unfamiliar with exercise. Persist in exercising. However, a little exercise now has made Kong Yangguang feel a bit surprised. Even with a little exercise, he can feel the improvement in his physical fitness. The feeling of improvement is exceptionally obvious, as if after exercising, my physical fitness has improved a bit. It feels like playing games. An hour later, Kong Yangguang sat in front of the dining table, with his father and mother sitting next to him. My father Kong Yang is in his early 40s this year, while my mother is only 38 years old. In 4 words, it means being young and strong. However, although my father is wealthy, he basically has no fame in later generations. The 4 major families, the Bao family, do not have a single Kong family. This is actually quite normal. After all, not everyone can achieve the same level as the 4 major families. It is very rare to tightly grasp the throat of the times. Not to mention anything else, this year old Li went to the capital once, and his father didn't have this opportunity at all. The charter ship king has also gone. Dad really started from scratch. He started smuggling at the age of 12, risking a lot to send penicillin to the mainland. At the age of 14, he started a business of OEM processing, and at 17, he accumulated a lot of family business. Until the year 67, when my father was 29 years old, the real estate market in Xinjiang plummeted. Then, my father gambled all his money on real estate, and from then on, he officially transformed into a real estate businessman. Now, Dad's net worth is over 10 billion yuan. If the problem is not serious, in 35 years, Dad's net worth will definitely exceed 10 billion yuan. Although there is currently no evaluation of Xiangjiang's billionaire list, it is definitely not much inferior to the currently Jiacheng. Unfortunately, my father has come to an end here. If he really works hard and can go smoothly, he will definitely surpass Li Jiacheng. And my mother is the daughter of the club's big shot, who has a crush on my father. Dad is half done, after all, Mom is really beautiful. Over the years, clubs have also gradually become whitewashed. Yangguang thought again that Li Jiacheng did not actually spend much money to take over the Hutchison Whampoa. He only swallowed the Hutchison Whampoa worth over $1 billion in one breath, with a snake swallowing an elephant worth $20 million. Since Li Jiacheng can complete this operation, his current strength will definitely not be inferior to Li Jiacheng, so it may not necessarily mean that he cannot win the Hutchison Whampoa. However, we still need to start from Zhilin first. Dad. Yangguang suddenly spoke up and said, "Have you been doing well in business lately?" "Oh ho." Yang looked at Yangguang with some surprise and said, "Son, have you changed your mind today? Why did you suddenly start caring about the business at home?" "I'm already 18. Yangguang shrugged and said, "Can't I just pay a little attention to my family's business? Business is okay." Yang didn't really want to ruin his son's mood. It's rare for Yangguang to care so much about the family's business. He smiled and said, "Do you know what's hottest in Xiangjiang now?" "Real estate." Yangguang replied. Yang suddenly became interested, and then smiled and said, "Another thing is the manufacturing industry. Your father and I still contract semiconductor radios from the island country. This thing is also very easy to sell, with good sales. The demand from the citizens of Xiangjiang is also very high now." "I don't think so." Yangguang smiled and spoke slowly. "In the current situation, every inch of land in Xiangjiang is precious, and labor costs will eventually increase. Unless we have our own core and irreplaceable technology, it will definitely be impossible. I think this manufacturing industry will eventually shift towards the mainland." Yang was stunned and spoke in surprise, "But how could the mainland possibly do it?" "They are now. The policies on the mainland will change." Yangguang smiled and said, "Dad, if you don't believe it, just look at it." "However, Dad, do you admit that the land in Xiangjiang is very valuable now?" Yang nodded and said, "You're quite right." Yangguang slowly spoke up and said, "Dad, have you seen the stock price of Zhilin Group?" "I didn't pay attention." Yang's eyes flickered a few times. "Son, do you know? The current stock price of Zhilin Warehouse is 11.8 yuan. Yangguang smiled and spoke slowly, "Do you think this price is too high or too low?" Yang trembled all over. I heard Yangguang speak slowly and say, "Dad, in my judgment, this price is definitely low. You should know that the current land price in Xiangjiang has not fallen, but has skyrocketed significantly. The Tsim Sha Sui waterfront, located in the bustling commercial district, is even more valuable. In this situation, the stock price of Zhilin Warehouse should not be so low." What kind of person is Yang? Starting from scratch, Yangguang can simply put it simply, which is enough to make Yang take it seriously. I believe that as long as Zhilin can fully utilize its land resources, there can be a 20% annual growth trend in the next 10 years. However, the price of Zhilin is currently very low. If we can acquire the equity of Zhilin now, whether it is to acquire it or sell it, we will definitely make a profit without losing. Pop. Yang slammed his chopsticks onto the table and said, "Prepare the car, I need to go to the office." Mom Zhonghong was slightly stunned and said, "Are you going to the company now? Opportunities cannot be lost, loss never comes again." Yang spoke quickly, "Go now." Watching his father and mother leave quickly, Kong Yangguang's lips showed a slight smile, but his heart was filled with one beautiful woman after another from Hong Kong and Taiwan. This calculation doesn't matter. Suddenly I realize that these girls are simply tender and delicious, beautiful, and there is a high probability that they will be virgins. Let my dad earn the money, then I'll inherit the family property and play with girls. This life is simply beautiful. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 0003. Dog Legends. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Of course, struggle is still necessary. Isn't life just about developing towards the direction of wealth or even greater wealth? However, for Kong Yangguang, making money is definitely not a problem, and it is also necessary to enjoy life well. The Battle of Kowloon Warehouse, the acquisition of Hutchison Whampoa, and the oil crisis of 1978. In 1981, the Jianing Group, in 1983, the Hong Kong dollar crisis, in 1985, the Plaza Accord, and in 1990, the island nation collapsed. Which event here does not contain an opportunity to make a fortune? Waiting a little longer is the rise of the mainland. By calculation, I am currently 18 years old and 16 years old. Even in 2008, I was only 36 years old. After a slight calculation in his heart, Kong Yangguang suddenly felt that besides making money, mainland girls were still quite agile. Especially when combined with our factory configuration, beautiful women and money are simply a must-have. It's difficult to think about being underdeveloped. Should I drop out of school? Kong Yangguang actually felt that whether or not he wanted to go to school was not very meaningful. The things he wanted to learn could not be taught by the school, and coming here was nothing more than mixing a different educational background. But can't we buy this thing with money? Moreover, the original owner of the body is not a diligent learner. It can be described as eating, drinking, prostitution, and gambling, with all 5 poisons. Some people in later generations will say that these wealthy second-generation people have excellent cultivation, received extremely high education, studied well, had good knowledge, and had good experience. They hold power much better than the poor. However, in fact, that's exactly what happened. What a mess. They lack the most basic empathy, really giving the wealthy second generation the upper hand. He will feel that people who cannot get on a plane are not worthy of being called people. Victoria Noble College. Kong Yangguang yawned and got off the car. Then, I saw a student bowing and nodding in front of me. Little light. Kong Yangguang knows this guy, his name is Zhou Jun. So, this person is his own lackey, someone who serves him with a horse and a horse, specifically serving as his wingman, looking for girls, showing off his power, and wielding his power. Zhou Jun's entire family relies on his father to sprinkle some oil and water on his head to make a living, and this Zhou Jun has been raised as a lackey around him since childhood. Ah Jun. Kong Yangguang tilted his eyes and glanced at Zhou Jun, just like his usual attitude. He couldn't say how much he valued it, but he didn't pay much attention either. Then, he heard Zhou Jun speak with a flattering tone. Guangxiao, Su Rongrong has something to say to you. Oh. Kong Yangguang's face showed a smile. Have you solved it? This Su Rongrong is also one of the goals of the original owner of her body. She is beautiful, with a good figure and skin, but she has never been successful. This girl named Su Rongrong comes from a relatively affluent family. After all, those who can attend noble colleges. Hee. Zhou Junfei quickly spoke up and said, well, it's solved. Su Rongrong's family bought stocks a while ago and all of them lost money. I only found out yesterday that their family owes a huge amount of foreign debt. Her father is like this and still wants to break even. As a result, he went to the gambling city to gamble and ran out of money long ago. Kong Yangguang was momentarily taken aback, then laughed and said, gold and jade are among the most shameful. Zhou Jun laughed heartily and said, yes, yes, it's just that there is a lot of knowledge behind the surface of gold and jade. There are so many words to understand. Yangguang couldn't help but roll his eyes. This kid's ability to flatter is getting stronger and stronger. He glanced at Zhou Jun and spoke calmly, tell me the key. The day before yesterday, Su Rongrong's father jumped into the sea and committed suicide. Yesterday, Su Rongrong's mother was forced to pay debts by the club and also committed suicide. Zhou Junfei quickly spoke up, so now that Su Rongrong is helpless, the club will continue to force her to pay off debts, asking her to become a chicken. Sleeping trough, this fate is too tragic. Yangguang couldn't help but speak up. So, I told her that if she wants to live a good life now, she has to rely on Guangxiaoyu. Zhou Jun chuckled. She agreed. Yangguang asked. How dare she not agree? Zhou Jun widened his eyes. Only by following Guangxiao can she not be harassed by the club. How dare she not agree? How do you know so well about their family's situation? Yangguang looked at Zhou Jun with some surprise. Zhou Jun chuckled and quickly spoke up, Guangxiao, I don't have any other skills. I just take Guangxiao's affairs seriously. Guangxiao's affairs are my own. Guangxiao will definitely not investigate these matters. Little brother, I must be in charge. Sleeping in the trough. Yangguang couldn't help but let out a sigh. He looked up and down at Zhou Jun, but his heart let out a sigh. What a good dog leg. Bring her to meet me. Yangguang grinned. In my memory, this was something that the original owner of the body had put in a lot of effort but couldn't get it. Unexpectedly, now he has taken advantage of it. When it comes to the fat on the lips, don't eat it for free. Chapter 0004. Su Rongrong. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Yangguang's current feeling is that his past life was still not rich enough. If I really have money, there must be someone like Zhou Jun around me who is a lackey. If I want to do something, I don't even need to do it myself. Zhou Jun will definitely handle these things beautifully for me. Yangguang found that Zhou Jun's dog leg was really useful. In another part of the campus, Yangguang saw Su Rongrong. This Su Rongrong also looked pure and lovely, like flowers and jade, delicate and delicious. It was really tempting to see. Light, less light. Su Rongrong saw Yangguang and then gently lowered her head. She also knew what her current situation was. Her father had lost all his stocks, so it's okay. He even went to bad gambling and provoked the club. Now, both of my parents have passed away. The most important thing is that the members of these clubs will never let themselves go, so what is their only choice? Coincidentally, at this moment, Zhou Jun found himself. Since Yangguang is interested in himself, directly joining Yangguang is also an excellent choice. His family is so wealthy, he must be able to protect himself. Once she made up her mind, Su Rongrong immediately made a decision. Being cared for by one person is always better than being cared for by a group of people. Besides, Zhou Yang is so handsome this time. Even if you waste a few years of youth, you won't suffer any losses. Overall, although Victoria Noble College has the word noble, the actual situation is quite different. To be precise, apart from the schools of the Eagle Country people, there is not a good distinction between the Chinese aristocratic colleges in Xiangjiang. Kong's family has a net worth of less than 1 million yuan, while Su Rongrong's family, with a net worth of less than 1 million yuan, also resides in this Victorian aristocratic college. Of course, for the Chinese privileged class, the best idea is actually to study abroad in Eagle Country. Yangguang has also been there, and then Mr. Kong went there for 2 years. He didn't learn English and cried and insisted on coming back. In contrast, Li Jiaqing's eldest son, Li Zeju, is still studying in Eagle Country, and then he will go to study at the University of Canada and Macau. Overall, in 1978, although Chinese capital had risen, it was not enough to completely shake the capital of the Eagle Country people. The rise of Chinese capital still depends on the education of Iron Lady by the director of the steel plant. However, the spring warm duck prophet, in fact, many Chinese capital has received signals, such as the Baochuan king, who has started preparing to abandon the ship and land, and is planning to acquire Eagle Country capital. Of course, some people feel the will of the mainland, but do not believe that the mainland has this strength. Being one step late means falling behind step by step. Turning his head, he glanced at Zhou Jun. Zhou Jun immediately understood and quickly left the small forest. Rongrong. Kong Yangguang smiled and approached Su Rongrong, but with a faint smile on her face, he said, "Do you understand?" Su Rongrong looked shyly at Kong Yangguang and spoke carefully, from now on, just hope that the light will cover me less." "That's great." Kong Yangguang chuckled and then hugged Su Rongrong's slender waist, saying with a smile, "Follow me, I'm sure I won't let you suffer." "Thank you very much, thank you very little." Su Rongrong spoke cautiously. "How much money does your father owe?" Kong Yangguang suddenly asked. 300,000, now, estimated to be, there are 500,000. Su Rongrong spoke cautiously. 500,000. Kong Yangguang was surprised for a moment. Now, an ordinary worker in Xiangjiang earns 8 or 900 yuan, and 2 or 3,000 yuan per month is a high salary. 500,000. It takes almost 5 years of not eating or drinking to make a profit, but don't forget, this is a high-interest loan. I will always be the kind of person who can't get married. Isn't it a brain problem to think about winning back from the casino after the stock crashes? Kong Yangguang couldn't help but laugh. Less light. Su Rongrong spoke cautiously and said, You. Give me a kiss. Kong Yangguang smiled and said, "This little money is not worth it." "Thank you, Guangshao." Su Rongrong gritted her teeth and then took the initiative to hug Kong Yangguang's neck and kiss him. "Very sweet. I am only 18 years old this year, but Su Rongrong is different. She is already 18 years old." "Ah Jun!" Kong Yangguang suddenly shouted. Zhou Jun immediately emerged from the crowd and politely said, "Xiao Guang, what orders do you have?" "Prepare the car for me and arrange a hotel for me." Kong Yangguang shrugged and spoke lightly, "Go arrange it." Zhou Jun immediately chuckled and said, "I understand. Don't worry, Guangshao. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 0005. Kong Yang, who envies his son. I also want to. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Sunshine Group, so cheap. Kong Yang looked at the information collected by his assistant Tang Ning in front of him, and his face also showed an unexpected expression. As Kong Yangguang said, the stock price of Zhilin is not a matter of whether it is low or not, but rather a cheap and outrageous one. If one eats it at this time, it is foreseeable that they will inevitably make a profit. Lighting a cigarette, Kong Yang suddenly asked, "How much funds can we mobilize?" "The total amount is 100 million Hong Kong dollars. If we increase our efforts, we can allocate 120 million Hong Kong dollars. However, as a result, many of our projects will have to stop working." Tang Ningfei said quickly. Kong Yang carefully looked at the information in his hand, then fiercely extinguished his cigarette butt and slowly spoke, "Leave 20 million in cash, the remaining 1 billion, and use it as a retail investor to acquire stocks in Zhilin. Also, help me meet Mr. Shen Bai from HSBC." At this moment, Kong Yang had a huge idea in his heart. He wanted to have a snake devouring an elephant and see if his equity could reach 51%. Once you win the 9-dragon warehouse, it means that you are a small and broad player, playing a snake-swallowing elephant game. Tang Ning quickly nodded and said, understood. However, 100 million pens is definitely not enough. Kong Yang still needs to find a way to get enough capital from HSBC, and he also has a relationship with HSBC's senior manager Shen Bai. If HSBC is willing to borrow money, then play with a large sum of money. If the borrowed money cannot be lent out, then let it go and make a big profit. As a businessman, especially one who has risen from the bottom, Kong Yang's life is full of adventure, and now that he is almost 40 years old, his adventurous genes have not completely faded. Even if they fail, the capital of Sunshine Group is still here. How could the situation be worse than when they smuggled it themselves? Rubbed your face. At this moment, Kong Yangguang's mother Su Linghong walked in with a cup of tea and said, Yang, have a sip of tea. Kong Yang took a slow sip of the long jing that Su Linghong handed him, and Su Linghong asked, how have you been doing with the information since I was busy this morning? Guang's words are good. Kong Yang took a deep breath and smiled as he spoke, I never expected the price of Zhuangyuan to be so cheap. Now is the best opportunity for us to get involved. Jardine Matheson is also a century-old foreign company and has made such a basic mistake. Su Linghong smiled and said, Centennial enterprises also mean that their thinking has begun to stiffen. They are the capital of Eagle Country, and they are also a century-old enterprise. We don't think anyone will attack them, so when we do it, we must be careful and not leak any information. Although Su Linghong, my mother, came out of a club and can fight and kill, she is also a capable follower of Kong Yang with her father. Moreover, she has self-taught a lot of enterprise management knowledge and combined it with her own practice. She is also a skilled manager. She is not that kind of vase, she only provides resources and connections, but is truly capable. You're right. Speaking of which, Kong Yang couldn't help but clench his fist and smiled as he spoke, if this deal is really done, if the Prince of Ships sees me, we will all be on equal footing. Although there is not much difference between the tiers of the Eagle Country people and the wealth of the Chinese people, there is also a hierarchy within them. And the level of Ship Charter King is undoubtedly the top 3. Actually. Kong Yang took a sip of tea and smiled, saying, what really surprised me was Guang. I didn't expect that this kid used to never really care about our family's business. Why did he suddenly start caring, and at first glance, it was clear that there was something wrong with Zhuangyuan. Su Linghong nodded and smiled, saying, actually, I was also very surprised. I didn't expect that Guang could still see this layer. This kid used to be a bit stubborn, but he suddenly enlightened. Kong Yang thought of this and suddenly looked at Tang Ning on the side and asked, Ning, how was Guang going to school today? Tang Ning hesitated for a moment. Kong Yang was surprised and said, what's wrong? Young master, I didn't go to class today, but went to the hotel with a girl named Su Rongrong. Tang Ning replied honestly, this Su Rongrong is his senior sister. Kong Yang suddenly widened his eyes and cursed, this stinky kid, he really can't change how dogs eat shit. How come he doesn't look like his father or me at all? Who can't change who eats shit? Su Linghong widened her eyes and immediately began to protect her son. Kong Yang's temperament suddenly weakened and he said, I'm also doing it for Yang's good, he's still young. I think it's pretty good. Su Linghong said, I've been enlightened since I was young. I'm sure you'll make your old Kong family's offspring prosperous in the future. Kong Yang obediently closed his mouth, but his heart was filled with envy. His son had achieved what he wanted to do but dared not do, and he was surrounded by a group of beauties. He also longed for it, but dared not. First of all, we need to ask Su Linghong if she agrees or not, after all, Mom's family is a gangster. Chapter 0006, Chapter 101. The slash is perfect. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Victoria Harbor is a seaport located between Hong Kong Island and the Kowloon Peninsula. One of the 3 natural harbors in the world, it is known as the Pearl of the East and the 3 nightscapes of the world due to its wide and deep waters. The Ritz-Carlton Hotel is located near Victoria Harbor, where you can enjoy a panoramic view of both sides of Victoria Harbor. The hotel promises to create a warm, comfortable, and beautiful environment for guests, always adhering to the concept of service first. Of course, the concept of the hotel is not important for Kong Yangguang, but most importantly, it is a place for friendly communication between the original owner of the body and the girls. The original owner of the body can almost be considered a regular here. Thinking about it, Kong Yangguang couldn't help but sigh. The original owner of his body only unlocked this new skill last year, and by this year, he had already completed the 100/. This speed averages 1 every 3 days. This dog day, you really have fun. However, now I have taken over the offer myself. The 101st cut is perfect. This Su Rongrong is really quite good, truly worthy of being the girl that the original owner of the body has long coveted. She is only 18 years old now, but as time goes by, she will continue to drive and the CPU will definitely continue to be upgraded. It's worth investing in for the long term. Stretching a lazy waist. Kong Yangguang picked up a phone and called the butler Fong Zhong. Uncle Fong, yes, 500,000 yuan. Kong Yangguang held the phone and enjoyed the happiness brought by Su Rongrong while speaking. You can tell my dad about the money and tell him that I will advance next month's pocket money. Nowadays, Kong Yangguang has over 300,000 yuan in monthly pocket money. That's right. Kong Yangguang thought for a moment, then smiled and said, arrange a few more bodyguards for me. I'm at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel, okay. Upon hearing this, Su Rongrong, who was working hard, couldn't help but feel a slight warmth in her heart. At least, they really take their own affairs seriously. Then, her service became more considerate. Kong Yangguang suddenly pressed down on Su Rongrong's head, do you want coffee? Kong Yangguang looked at Su Rongrong brushing her teeth. Su Rongrong shook her head, while Kong Yangguang just smiled and continued to slowly start drinking coffee. However, what was on his mind was the second oil crisis. I have already told my father about such important information about Zhilin, and he can never remain indifferent. It's not a problem to earn him a few 100 million yuan every time he comes in and out. The problem now is how to earn more. Kong Yangguang has an extremely magnificent blueprint in his heart. Without money, it is impossible to achieve it. In his past life, he was nothing more than a few 100 million yuan worth of money. In this life, not only did he have such a rich family background, but even with the information of the reborn, he could soar to fame. Since one's own business blueprint needs to be built, it requires money, many, billions, trillions. The unit even needs a beautiful knife. Zhilin is just the beginning, and the main thing that follows is the oil crisis. However, at present, Xinjiang stock market cannot play with futures. We need to wait until Xinjiang's futures market develops, at least until the 4 major exchanges merge. This requires going to the Eagle Kingdom, to the United States Emperor. Kong Yangguang calculated in his heart that as long as he made a big profit from the second oil crisis, his own capital could completely rival the Chinese capital of the entire Xinjiang. After struggling for so long, it's not as good as earning more in this wave. Thinking this way, Kong Yangguang was a bit excited all over. He was mentally calculating that he would drop out of school next, and it didn't matter if he didn't attend. He already knew the knowledge he needed to learn, whether or not he went to school was just that. Secondly, it is necessary to have your father give you some money, as you need to personally handle the second oil crisis. With this thought in mind, Kong Yangguang had a plan in his heart. Firstly, he still needs to persuade his father to drop out of school and make sure he has to work for at least 100 million yuan. Of course, first and foremost, to make a big profit through the operation of Zhilin, the first step is to take down Hutchison Whampoa and definitely not give Li Jiaqing a discount. At this moment, Su Rongrong wriggled out of the bathroom and looked at her wriggling expression. Kong Yangguang couldn't help but smile on his face. Does it hurt? Su Rongrong blushed and nodded, a bit. Once you've adapted, it's good. You'll have to adapt more in the future. Kong Yangguang laughed heartily. Su Rongrong's face turned even redder, as if she was about to drip blood. The phone in the room rang, and Kong Yangguang picked up the phone. Hello, I'm Kong Yangguang. The phone was from the front desk. Mr. Kong, there is a man named Tongshen Hai outside who said you asked him to come and find you. Okay, I got it. Kong Yangguang smiled and then looked at Su Rongrong with a smile, saying, let's go, I'll go pay off your debt. Su Rongrong nodded and said, thank you for the light. However, after taking a few steps, the pain was unbearable. Kong Yangguang laughed and suddenly picked up Su Rongrong, saying, let's go. Su Rongrong's delicate body trembled, but an indescribable sense of security rose in her heart. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 0007. Arrogance comes at a cost. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Tang Ning and Tongshen Hai are a pair of siblings, both of whom were personally cultivated by Kong Yang. Tang Ning's education expenses were provided by Kong Yang, and after graduation, he was left by Kong Yang to work as a personal assistant. As for Tang Shanhai, who was older and didn't have enough time to study, he started learning kung fu and his skills were very strong. Kong Yangguang also learned some kung fu from Tongshen Hai, but they were all three-legged skills used for health preservation. Strengthening the body is not a problem, and he mainly relies on equipment to exercise large muscle groups, combined with some breathing techniques. In Tang Shanhai's own words, kung fu is a killing technique. Kong Yangguang doesn't need to learn these techniques. At the same time, he is also responsible for the security of the Kong family. In addition, Tongshen Hai has also married and had children. As long as he can maintain loyalty to the Kong family, his descendants, wife, and daughter will be taken care of by the Kong family. Being held by Kong Yangguang, Su Rongrong couldn't help feeling a bit shy in her heart. And Kong Yangguang saw Tongshen Si and smiled, saying, Uncle Shanhai, why did you come in person? Idle and bored. Tang Shanhai replied briefly. Kong Yangguang just smiled and then said, let's go. There are a total of 12 bodyguards who came with Kong Yangguang. However, they only protect in the dark and will not interfere with Kong Yangguang's normal life. Tongshen Hai glanced at the surrounding environment, casually carrying a box, and then arrived at Causeway Bay. The debtor is the club under the Li family, called Chowi Yong. Tongshen Hai spoke calmly, a little servant, called Jizi, nicknamed Jaij. In recent years, he has just run a bar called Chongguan Bar, which has set up an underground casino. In addition, he is lending some high-interest loans and has about 10 people under his command. 10 or so people, that's all. Kong Yangguang's face showed an unexpected expression. Round this up. It's similar to the bodyguards around me. Of course, the entire Chaozhou volunteer force is actually just 100 or so people, belonging to the small gangs within the small gang. To be precise, they belong to Heshinga. However, with more members of Heshinga, they are actually a relatively loose gang, and everyone is acting independently, except for a few larger members. The rest are the younger brothers among the younger brothers. The reason why Chowi Yong can avoid being swallowed up by others is because he relies on benefiting his family. The Li family can be considered as one of the 4 oldest families in Xiangjiang, with strong strength. They started by selling opium and have been developing for over 50 years now. In terms of strength, they are even stronger than their Kong family. Li Jia allowed Chowi Yong to operate and supply here, and Chowi Yong can be considered to have a firm foothold. Of course, this is also a way for the Li family to whitewash themselves. They still need some clubs around them to help them deal with some small things, just like their Kong family, where the father and mother completely whitewash themselves. However, they also need the strength of the clubs to solve some problems. Let's go. Kong Yangguang hugged Su Rongrong with one hand and walked straight into this Chongguang bar. Tang Shanhai casually carried a box, and 12 bodyguards quickly dispersed to scrutinize everything in the bar. Subsequently, the three of them arrived at the third floor of the bar. There was a man guarding the corridor, and when he saw three people, he spoke with some caution. "What are you doing?" Kong Yangguang looked at Tang Shanhai beside him. Tang Shanhai lifted the suitcase in his hand and said, "Come and repay the money." The confused young man glanced at the three of them, then slightly opened his body and made way. "Go in." The entire office seemed a bit dim, emitting an unpleasant odor. Then, Kong Yangguang saw the chicken cub. This rooster, as its name suggests, looks like a rooster, arrogant and domineering, with fierce flashes of light emanating from deep within its eyes. Su Rongrong was a bit afraid. After all, in Kong Yangguang's eyes, this chicken cub may seem a bit comical and ridiculous, but it is like a great demon king who forces his parents to die together. Kong Yangguang smiled and spoke slowly, "Brother Chicken." The chicken nodded slightly and looked straight at Kong Yangguang, saying, "I am, who are you? What can I do for you?" "Uncle Shanhai." Kong Yangguang looked at Tang Shanxi beside him. Tang Shanhai casually opened the box, revealing the colorful and eye-catching banknotes inside, and pushed them to buy money from the chicken. The chicken was momentarily taken aback, and then saw Su Rongrong. He immediately smiled and said, "Did you find the culprit?" Kong Yangguang just smiled faintly and said, "Brother Jizai, it's only natural for you to pay off your debt. This is 500,000 yuan. From now on, this will be the 2 settlements. I also hope that you don't continue to harass Su Rongrong, okay? What if I don't agree?" The chicken cub crossed its legs, and then several little brothers beside him approached the three of them at the same time. I heard the chicken speak lightly and say, 500,000. "Kid, what she owes me is clearly 1 million, understand? 1 million. Kong Yangguang smiled and decided to sit on the chair opposite his desk. He smiled and said, "So there's no need to talk anymore. What can you do without talking?" Bang! The chicken trembled all over, then let out a scream, and one of his ears was knocked off by Tang Shanxi. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 0008. What is a synonym? It's me. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 0008. What is a synonym? It's me. It's a lamb. The chicken is completely dumbfounded. Unexpectedly, at this moment, Tang Shanhai pulled out his weapon. Kong Yangguang couldn't help but take an extra look at Tang Shanxi, and his heart was secretly muttering, "Special code, this guy keeps saying that martial arts are killing skills. Now it seems. 7 steps away, the gun is fast. Within 7 steps, the gun is truly accurate and fast." The chicken let out a series of mournful cries and roared in its mouth, take them down, give me them, I want to kill them, kill them." Bang! A young man who had just rushed up was shot in the knee by Tang Shanxi on the spot. On the spot, the unlucky little brother knelt on the ground and let out a mournful scream. "Other guys, look at me, look at you." For a moment, no one dared to take another step forward. The chicken jumped up and wanted to escape, but was shot in the butt by Tang Shanhai. Ouch! The chicken suddenly lay on the ground, with a series of mournful cries coming from its mouth. Watching Tang Shanxi control the scene, Kong Yangguang smiled and approached Jizi, saying, "Jizi brother, can you tell me how much money I owe you now?" No more, no more. Even if he were a fool now, he knew that the other person's identity and background were a bit terrifying. At this moment, he dared to say a word of no. Don't say that. Kong Yangguang pressed down on the chicken's still bleeding ear. Ah! The chicken suddenly erupted into a pig-like howl, causing him to suffer from excruciating pain. His hands couldn't help but attack Kong's sunlight, and then... click. Click. Just heard a crisp sound, and both arms of the chicken were broken by Tongshen Si on the spot. The chick is almost fainting. He began to regret that he should have taken this 500,000 just now. I really shouldn't be greedy for Su Rongrong's beauty. He pleaded and said, please spare me, big brother, I was wrong. Big brother, please spare me, spare my life. Kong Yangguang stood up, looked at the chicken cub, and then at the group of little brothers around him. He spoke calmly and said, listen to me, my name is Kong Yangguang, and my father is Kong Yang from the Sunshine Group. If you really want to retaliate against me, you can give it a try. A group of little brothers are all looking at me, and when I look at you, my eyes are filled with fear. Although they are at the bottom of society, they also know that truly wealthy people are definitely not something they can provoke. Sunshine Group. They may not know, but just looking at this battle, they also know that Kong Yangguang is not something they can afford to provoke. At the moment, a young man quickly spoke up and said, I dare not, Guang Shao. We don't know if it's you, otherwise. All right. Kong Yangguang looked at the little brother and said with a smile, how much do you earn in a month? 1,000 yuan. 1,000 yuan. Kong Yangguang widened his eyes and said without a smile, look at your little brother. He can lend out 300,000 yuan and earn 500,000 yuan. With each input and output, he can make a profit of 200,000 yuan. This little brother actually froze for a while, and the other little brothers also felt a bit dizzy. So calculate. It seems like there's really no difference. Let's do it. Kong Yangguang smiled and casually patted the 500,000 cash on the table, then spoke calmly, kill this chicken, whose 500,000 is it? Shit, several little brothers in the office were stunned at the same time. Of these 500,000, 300,000 are from the Chaozhou volunteers, while the remaining 200,000 are all from oneself. 1,000 yuan per month. Not eating or drinking for a year is only 12,000 yuan. Rounded up, this is 20 years of income. The little thugs were excited. Although they said something meaningful, the money in front of them emitted a tempting fragrance. Suddenly a young man lifted a chair on one side and knocked it hard on the head of the chicken cub. Who's I'm cursing your mother. The chicken only had time to make a sound, and his head was hit hard. On the spot, his head was kicked open. The other little brothers were also unwilling to be outdone and immediately rushed forward. If you kill the chicken cubs, they will have at least 200,000. The chicken was already injured. Now, how can he resist the beating of his younger brother? Su Rongrong stood on the side, feeling both shocked and heartbroken. She couldn't help but look at Kong Yangguang, who pressed Su Rongrong's head against her chest and said, don't be afraid, don't be afraid. Su Rongrong had an indescribable sense of peace of mind. Then, suddenly I heard Kong Yangguang's question. What do you mean by righteousness? What? Su Rongrong was stunned. What is a synonym? It's me. It's a lamb. Kong Yangguang laughed and pointed to the chicken being beaten. He smiled and said, look, this is unparalleled love and righteousness. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 0009. Can't bear to let go of children, can't keep a wolf in place. You are listening at novel full.audio. Chapter 0009. Can't bear to let go of children, can't keep a wolf in place. Tongshen Haidu couldn't help but glance at Kong Yangguang. What kind of nonsense is this? Am I a lamb? The character, I, has always been used to describe a fierce weapon, from the Shang dynasty to the spring and autumn period and the warring states period, which is a very sharp weapon called I. And sheep refer to noble qualities, because since ancient times, sheep have been used to describe holy sages and many immortals are incarnations of sheep. So the meaning of I is to have a strong attacking power, and it is definitely not to be left to be exploited by others. Ancestor Shenzhou culture placed the character, sheep, before the character, me, and worshipped the character, I offer a lamb, the lamb replaces me, as the meaning. The chicken gradually lost its breath. A few ancient troublemakers were covered in blood and looked even more terrifying and terrifying. Who killed it? Kong Yangguang smiled. Look at me, look at you, Kong Yangguang said slowly, forget it, you guys should share this money yourselves. 500,000 yuan can be easily thrown away. Kong Yangguang left directly with Tongshen Si. At this moment, Su Rongrong was still somewhat frightened and uncertain, but soon she realized a problem. Kong Yangguang, this is revenge for his whole family. Although she doesn't have much deep affection for her father, and she doesn't have much affection for this bad gambling father, her mother. That was forced to death by this chicken cub. However, it was this big brother who was killed by Kong Yangguang in just a few words. What kind of nonsense is unparalleled in love and righteousness? It's a movie used to deceive ghosts. It's all false benevolence and righteousness. Even if it's true love and righteousness that are unparalleled, after spending a few years in the club, they have become old tricks one by one. Who still believes in this set of things? Interest is the king's way. Loyalty is because the chips of betrayal are not enough. The news of the chicken being killed in Chongguang Bar was quickly spread. Quickly, Chao Yiyong also investigated Kong Yangguang's head. Then, this matter ends here. Although the Kong family may not be as good as the Li family, it is also the latest rising family, and it is definitely not something that a small wave of volunteers can afford to provoke. To deal with the Kong family, at least the Li family must personally take action. But will the Li family offend the Kong family for you, a little chicken? Upon further investigation, it was discovered that the person was here to repay the money. Even so, they still recognized your high-interest loan and repaid you 500,000 yuan, but you insisted on asking for 1 million yuan. Do you really think the Kong family doesn't want any face? In this situation, even if it means killing you, you deserve it. After taking a comfortable bath at Su Rongrong's home, Kong Yangguang left behind a sentence. Hello, study hard. In the future, I will cover all your tuition fees for you. In the future, you can come to me for anything else. Su Rongrong only felt incredibly happy. Shallow Bay, Kong family villa. As soon as he returned home, Kong Yangguang realized that his father was not sleeping at all, but looked at the information in his hand with a serious expression. Dad. Kong Yang saw his father and immediately smiled, you haven't rested yet. You stinky kid has caused so much trouble for me, can I sleep? Kong Yang closed the information in his hand and spoke straightforwardly, you're still young, you need to know how to control yourself. Hee, I got it. Kong Yangguang laughed heartily. It's needless to say that my parents dote on me. When I went to study abroad at DadThe, I didn't even learn the bullshit and had to go back to Xiangjiang. My parents didn't say anything, just unconditionally supported me. Dad. Kong Yangguang asked, have you seen the stock price of Zhilin? Speaking of the main matter, Kong Yang immediately sat up straight and spoke quickly, I've seen it, your child's vision is really quite accurate this time. I've already started taking action. As he spoke, Kong Yang rubbed his hands and quickly spoke, this matter is fast, accurate, and ruthless. Kong Yangguang asked, is our family's cash flow still sufficient? It's okay. Kong Yang said, with all my might, I can come up with 120 million yuan. However, I'm planning to take out a loan from HSBC and come up with another sum of money. Our family can completely take over the 9-dragon warehouse. Dad. Calm Yangguang asked, do you think Shenbai will give us a loan? I can't say it. Calm Yang shook his head and said, I'm still preparing some gifts. What gift? Calm Yangguang asked curiously. Some jewelry, some small gifts. Calm Yang impatiently waved his hand and said, all right, don't ask any more. Dad. Calm Yangguang spoke straightforwardly and said, just tell me how much these things are worth. Calm Yang hesitated for a moment before speaking, about a few 100,000, less than 1 million. Dad. Calm Yangguang said, have you ever heard a sentence? A sentence. What sentence? Calm Yang's face showed a puzzled expression. I can't bear to let go of my child, but I can't keep a wolf in place. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 0010. Listen to your words and disrupt your outlook on life. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 0010. Listen to your words and disrupt your outlook on life. What does it mean? Calm Yang was actually stunned. Dad, think about it. How much money do we have at home now? You're worth, at least a few billion yuan. Calm Yangguang said calmly, do you think it's appropriate to give him a gift of less than 1 million yuan? Calm Yang widened his eyes. Calm Yangguang slowly spoke up and said, 1 million is definitely not enough, I think at least this number. As he spoke, Calm Yangguang raised a finger. 10 million. Calm Yang asked tentatively. 1 billion. Calm Yangguang spoke straightforwardly. What? Calm Yang couldn't help but take a cold breath and looked at Calm Yangguang blankly. Do you want me to give Shenbai 1 billion yuan? Our family's cash flow is only 1 or 2 billion yuan. That's different. Calm Yangguang slowly spoke up and said, if we take out 1 billion yuan, our loans will be at least 1 billion yuan, even 15 billion yuan, or even 2 billion yuan. This is very cost-effective for us. With enough cash flow and loans in hand, we have a lot to do. Calm Yangguang smiled and said, Dad, what we need to consider is not the gains and losses of 1 or 2 billion yuan. Loans, this thing is still very important to us. As he spoke, Calm Yangguang spread his hands and quickly spoke up, if we take the 9-dragon warehouse, it will be snake swallowing elephant. The profit from it is not 2 to 300 million, but 3 to 4 billion. It's not an exaggeration to say that 8 to 9 billion is not impossible. Dad, we can completely swallow such a large profit ourselves. Do you think it's possible? Calm Yang fell into contemplation and said, so, do you mean to give Shenbai a big one directly? Of course, how could he have been so happy without completely knocking him out? Calm Yang smiled and said, 1 billion, I don't believe it, he's not interested. In the original historical line, Li Jiaqing only spent 20 million yuan to achieve snake swallowing and elephant taking over the entire Hutchison Trading Company. His acquisition site is hailed as a classic business case. However, in Calm Yangguang's view, this was nonsense. He didn't believe that Li Jiaqing and Shenbai had no PY transactions at all. Later, when Shenbai stepped down as the head of HSBC Bank, Li Jiaqing directly sent a gold-casting HSBC model. Either don't do it bigger. 1 billion yuan is directly thrown into it. Calm Yang took a deep breath and then asked, what if we can't repay the debt and interest? In the United States, there is a family called the Donald family. Calm Yangguang smiled and spoke slowly, their family is mainly engaged in real estate business, but later on, the real estate industry was in a downturn. How much money did they owe the bank? Over $1 billion. If you were the head of their family, what would you do? Count the assets. Kong Yang pondered for a moment before slowly speaking, then, find a way to repay the debt. Well, you're wrong. Kong Yangguang smiled and said, Dad, in fact, their family leader did one thing. He increased the bank loan. He found the bank and told it, anyway, I won't be able to repay the money now. Why don't you lend me another loan so that I can complete the project at hand and repay your debt? Guess what? Kong Yangguang smiled and asked. Did the bank borrow money? Kong Yang asked in reverse. That's right, of course, the process in between is still quite tortuous, but there's one thing. Kong Yangguang smiled and spoke slowly, as long as we owe the bank enough money, as long as this money is large enough to a certain extent, it is the bank that is most afraid of our collapse, because once we really collapse, then no one can really repay this debt. Kong Yang was stunned for a long time, and at this moment, he really had a feeling of sudden understanding. Listen to your words, subvert your outlook on life. Kong Yang grew up from the bottom of society, which was his advantage. However, it was also his biggest disadvantage. His advantage was that he was cautious and reserved even in gambling, and had a strong ability to judge danger. However, this is also his disadvantage, as he is reluctant to spend money because it is not easy to accumulate wealth, so at the most critical moment, there may be some petty behavior. Kong Yangguang, on the other hand, wanted to completely reverse his father's thinking. We cannot continue to be petty. Kong Yang was lost in thought, and then he looked at Kong Yangguang and asked, Son, how much do you think is more appropriate for us to take out a loan? How much can we take out the entire Zhilongkang? Kong Yangguang clenched his fist, but his smile became even more intense. 10 billion, I believe 10 billion is definitely not a problem. Acquiring Zhilongkang openly and secretly acquiring Hutchison Trading Company. Of course, Kong Yangguang did not mention the overall plan. The first step is to reverse his father's values, make him willing to accept the loan, and make him willing to give Shenbai a super big gift when he comes up. Kong Yang stood up and picked up the phone on the table. Tang Ning, don't prepare any gifts for now. Then, Kong Yang sat down and looked at Kong Yangguang, Son, could you tell me what gift would be better? Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th.